All right, hello and everybody, and welcome to another episode of Comics That Influence. I'm Jake, and I'm here with Kurt, and we're getting back to our flip throughs after doing a whole bunch of interviews, which you can see on our other channel, our other series, which is called Indie Creator Exchange. Of course, we are the purveyors of making Turbo Pit Fighter, a post-apocalyptic sci-fi comic that look like this. And yeah, Kurt's showing you the printed. But we're going to be covering a couple of comics here that we have hand selected for your perusal, and we're going to go through it. The way I like to do it is where I haven't seen it before. I bought this, and I've been waiting to go through it live on the air, so I can give you my fresh take. Kurt has got something there, Ninjutsu, which is interesting. Looks like a two-tone comic, so he'll be doing that. Kurt, how you doing? And who goes first today?
I'm doing fantastic. This has been a while since we've done the 1-to-1 ratio in comics that influence us. And with all the joy that I'm experiencing right now, I'm going to allow you to go first.
Great. All right. So, I was going to dare Kurt. Sometimes I give him some dares. Like I dare you to reach out and contact this person or that person. I was going to dare him to contact Joan Jett and see if
You should have
she
said
has any.
something.
Yeah, but then I found out she has a comic out already, and this is it here. This is
Oh, I see.
it's not really a comic. I guess it's a trade. It's called Bad Reputation / I Love Rock and Roll. It's got a dual cover and a flip format, so you can display this side or this side. I like that idea. You get two covers for the price of one, and you can really hog up the shelf space in the store. Um, I was thinking that somebody should capitalize on Joan. Joan is older now. She's still around. Thank goodness. And I was wondering if somebody was going to maybe take her youthful image. She's a very iconic feminist icon, and a pioneering female musician. She was in the Runaways. She had a solo career. She hit #1 on the album charts. Um, and not too many females did that, especially during the '70s or the '80s. And I was wondering if she was going to have some kind of popular character version of her that lives on. That could just be a franchise, and just she could just leave that thing on autopilot for her, for her estate. But I found this, and so I picked it up. It wasn't that expensive. I think it was like only $9 or $10. And so let's dive right in. I don't know where to start, this side or this side. I like the art here. This reminds me of an artist called Destiny Blue, who is a kind of like a mental health specialist in her art styles. I say that because it looks like her black heart is cut out of her body here. Um, nice cover. Good production values here. So we're diving in. A graphic novel of stories inspired by the album I Love Rock and Roll from Joan Jett and the Blackhearts. That cover art was Tara McPherson. And here's some credits here on this whole project. This comes out under Jetlag Music Inc., which is one of her, I think that's her publishing company. So this is Joan Jett's, production. She's behind it, and the comic company is called Z2 Comics, which I've never heard of. I see it here on the spine, and it's not mentioned in the indicia at all. So I guess
Maybe they just distributed it for.
yeah. I was gonna say printer distributor. So here we're seeing some lyrics, and I've seen this before. There's actually a nice um, edition from a New Jersey punk band called Electric Frankenstein. They turned all their songs into like a one-page comic, and they put the whole thing out. You can go see that. So this is that idea. It looks like stories that are inspired by the lyrics. Next we're moving on. He was with May, yeah, May. So here we're seeing the comic artists, and they're not credited yet. We don't see like a table of contents type thing. Maybe they're credited in the at the end. But here's I Love Rock and Roll turned into a sequential story. Um, Kurt knows what I'm going to say next. There's kind of like a lot of standing around here. But they're developing a story here with a character, and then it says 18 years earlier. There's this is a flashback mode. It's kind of like a manga-ish style, a little, but it looks like Western. This is some interesting indie creator style, all colorized. I'm just kind of flipping through this. What I'm gonna do is I'm not gonna flip through the entire book, but I'm gonna go through all these little interstitials here. Here's a new. So we get to the next um, sequence here. So that was like 8 pagers. So these are 8 pagers, which is kind of standard for
Yeah.
anthologies. Yeah. Um, Now I'm gonna run away. Is that the runaway song? I'm gonna run, 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 run away from here. I'm gonna run. Is that a so, or is that on her solo album? I don't know if that's the same. I don't know if that's the same song. That's a great song. I'm gonna run away. This is nicer. So this is very dreamlike, and this is a lot more interesting to look at to me and to read through. And I think this is all, this is a kind of a weird style, goth punk style, whatever. I like that one. Good colors. I think these are like, bat people or something. Here's the Blackheart Mary. I'm gonna go through one more 8 pager on this side, and then I'll flip it, and I'll just kind of tease some of the other things. The Blackheart Marionettes. This is Love Is Pain. So these are all songs from the I Love Rock and Roll album, which is one of her seminal solo albums on Blackheart Records. This is kind of artsy fartsy. These are kind of like painting tableaus or pastiches, whatever you want to call them. There is a sequence to it, but it's a very, very kind of conceptual art style. A little sketchy in some places. Next, we get to this one. This is kind of like a cartoony style. Um, I'm just gonna skip through these. This style here is kind of like a This one looks like a more like a sci-fi style to me, right? Like kind of
Oh yeah.
impressionistic comic style. Looks like some color washes here. Interesting style. And
So the thing I just need to jump in and kind of like ask maybe a question, but yeah, I think what's so a couple stories back, it looks like the guy who it looks like the style that the guy who did Scott Pilgrim. I can't remember his name. I just watched some stuff on him too last
this
week.
style,
My God, nope. Keep going.
this style.
Right there. Scott Pilgrim. Yeah. Now the thought I'm having right now is I'm wondering if what they did was they went through this comic book publisher to get access to some of the top, producing comic book artists now, and then said, "Hey, here's a list of songs Joan Jett has. Can you give us your interpretation?" And then create this collected volume of it. Which I'm, you do this to me every damn time. I think it's just absolutely amazing because that artist right there with the scuba equipment and everything, that looks familiar too. Like I've been watching a lot of like you know indie comic creator reviews
This
on
is Crimson and
YouTube.
Clover. This is a
Yeah, it's so
major
cool.
major hit.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
so
I
cool.
don't
Wow.
recognize I don't recognize these artists, and we haven't seen the names
Yeah,
yet.
that's a
I'm
little
looking
recognizable. I'm gonna look into it.
I'm looking for the page that's gonna have the names. This one is
Yeah,
Victim
so
of Circumstance, and you can see the style here. This it looks like a familiar artist right here. Who is this? This is Bits and Pieces, which is I think a cover of a Dave Clark 5 song.
hmm.
I don't know why they would do a cover in here if it's all about turning the lyrics into something, but it might not be that bits and pieces. Yeah, I don't think that's the same song. Interesting style though. This is a little more like traditional comic booky, nowadays modern, style. Then we get to this style, which is cartoony, and we still haven't gotten to the flip yet. So we're going through all the songs
Wow.
on an album.
How many
Uh,
pages?
yeah, it's pretty thick here. Um,
Like,
I think I think got to be 100, right? There's all these
well,
eight
over.
pages.
Yeah, I'd say over 50, 150 maybe.
This is a nice
That's really in
style.
depth. Wow. Jeez.
And
Well,
now
what
we
was the
get to the
year? What was the year that came out?
this came out in 2021, and I
Huh.
never heard of it. I'm a big Jones fan. I never heard of this.
Hmm.
All right, now here's finally the credits. This is what we want to see.
Oh, cool.
I love rock and roll. So there's a writer and an artist.
Yeah.
Written by Britt and Brianna Winner, art by Manuela Partega. Then we saw, and the coloring is by Kelly Fitzpatrick. Here we saw the story and art of Evgenia Varelli. Here we see story and art by Paul Scorpi. Looks like they're going overseas for some of these names, kind of exotic names. Nag was written by Annie Zaleski, art by Andrea Bell. Crimson and Clover, story and art, Jamaica Dyer. None of these names ring any bells to me. Victim of Circumstance, written by Kat Mijos. That might be, I think I know that name. Um, and art by Margarita Sauvage. Bits and Pieces, written by Barbara Kessel. Line art and then color art by two different people, Aneki Murilinem. You're Too Possessive, story and art by Hannah Templar. And Oh Woe Is Me, story and art by Desi Alicea Aponte. Why does that look familiar? And color art, Kelly Fitzpatrick. So Kelly Fitzpatrick colored 3 out of these. I'm gonna flip this over now. Why does Alicia Aponte ring a bell? So now we get to the flip, and let's do it in reverse now. Bad Reputation is another album written by Amanda Deberg, art by Kat Staggs. Make Believe, story and art by Norzine. You Don't Know What You've Got, written by Lenio Moore and Kelsey Ramsey and Kelly Fitzpatrick. You Don't Own Me, written by Leah Moore, art by Devake Nyoji. This little sample, this is the favorite sequence that of mine. I saw it. It's great style. Do You Want to Touch Me? Art by Liana Kangas. Doing All Right with the Boys. Victoria Radkiewicz. Jezebel. Story and art by Lauren McCubbin. And Don't Abuse Me. Art by Claudia Aguirre. Now let's jump into this because this was the side that I kind of flipped through before. Ready? So this one is very sci-fi, and this is kind of like a futuristic world. And Bad Reputation, and it kind of ends on a note where you get to kind of like the title of the song. Here, check out this style, Kurt, and the colors. This is
Wow.
Make Believe. I love this. I love this style right
Oh
here.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
scratchy. It's well designed. It's kind of Japanese. The colors are amazing. Too bad this is only 8 pages. I love how she's green and then she's blue.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You got some interesting zip tone. I mean, this just reminds me of Cobra. That's all it just reminds me of.
Mm.
So, maybe a little bit of do a power bomb. Look at that splash, and she crosses the finish line. By jumping off the thing after they try to compete, like they're destroying each other's cars, right? Motorcycles, and then in the end, watch this. In the end, all the people are looking on. She gets up, and everything in the background blows up, and she's cheering. Bite me, it says. So this is to me this is the best example of Joan's attitude coming across, in a comic. Um, Here's you don't know what you've got. This is going into a kind of a sci-fi, maybe like punkish style. I'm just flipping through these real quick. Um, this is a much smaller style. Looks like a duotone. This is a cartoony style. Here's a real comic book style. A lot of text on this. This is a little text heavy for me. Some people are having fun with it with the text. Some people a lot less text. Double page splashes. Here's another. Don't abuse me. Another style here. Colorful stuff, and yeah, that's the last one. So a lot of value here. And I love the format. Imagine, Kurt, taking your favorite band or your favorite album. I should say, imagine taking your favorite album, breaking it up into little 8 pagers. How fun this would be to be assigned,
I'm
like
working on it.
oh, you are doing that?
I have a secret little project that I'm working on. Way like when I have free time, um, and I'm actually missing an element because the lead singer did a solo, has done a lot of solo projects, and he had a booklet with one of his his solos, and I tracking it down. I have to get to it. The band's called The Church, and the lead singer is Stephen Kilby, and he writes for me the greatest like song lyrics in just the images that just
Uh huh.
totally fled my brain. So months ago, I was just taking a day off from the doldrums and paper and pencil and listening to The Church, and I was like, oh man, I gotta, because he has a lot of like fantasy references in there, like sci-fi, and like it's just really cool. It's really cool. Space rock is really where they kind of also lay
Yeah.
their head in that. So
Yeah. So I love the model. I love the idea. I don't think I don't think Joan is really capitalizing. Kiss has really capitalized on their, comic versions of their stories and ideas and their characters. And I think Joan should do something a little bit more. She was involved in the Runaways movie, which
yeah,
was, the story from her perspective through a Hollywood lens. I saw it, there was a little to be desired. It's hard to bring that, to life, especially kind of like the off-screen stuff that you can't really put in a movie that happened in those days.
right.
Um, but it was good that she finally got a project now, and she was able to tell this, at least a part of the story. But I think Joan Jett is a superhero, and I think she needs to be in some kind of role in whether it's sci-fi or whether some continuing storyline, because Joan Jett has had a long career of fighting back. First, it was fighting back against sexism, then it was fighting up against the record company, then it was fighting against, just society, and, she's a strong, LGBT voice and everything. So I'd like to see more. Maybe she's making something else. I don't know if I've never heard of this before, so I was just curious. I just put in Joan Jett comic, and this came up. But hopefully there'll be more of this, and maybe if Joan can find the right creative team to just stick with, or maybe a publisher to stick with, and use her name. I think it's a name that every generation should know, and the music that it's the soundtrack of your life, and it should just continue on in some kind of visual form. And so that's my report, Kurt.
Nice. Once again, another insanely awesome comic that I didn't know existed. Now I'm probably gonna have to track down because I just saw a lot of really inspirational elements
Yeah.
throughout, and also, so like I said, some artists, I'm doing my best as an old guy to migrate out of my comfort zone.
Uh huh.
So I try to find. I'll take chances on the title card in YouTube and give it at least a 30-second 1 minute watch. And a couple of them in the last couple of weeks have kind of got me and turned me on to other artists. And so yeah, that's once again more money out of my bank account. But so I was down at Bethany Beach Comic Shop, Tom Cellini, which we did a indie comic exchange. It was our first time and only time so far. We actually had a comic retailer jump on. I met him because I
Hold
was
on,
down
Kurt.
there.
Hold on. Retailer slash publisher. Retailer slash
Oh,
publisher.
damn. Thank you. Sorry, Tom. Sorry. Yes, and publisher. I did not know that at the time, though. I just saw a comic book store, and my wife kept nagging me like there was something wrong with me that I didn't want to go in the comic book store. And of course, I had to explain to her anytime I walk into a comic book store, I can't spend any less than an hour. In other words, I'm going to be there for an hour minimum. And especially if I get to start talking to somebody, it's all over. And are you sure you want me to go in? Yes. So she went in with me, mapped out, walked the store, found one box of indie black and whites. He said, Tom said he had a second in the back, started pulling through, had an awesome conversation with him, which led to him coming on to our channel for the indie comic exchange. But I went back and all the books that were still left in the front, because when I pick through box, I'll make a stack and then I'll sort by like, yeah, I definitely want, don't know, and I'll stick it in the front of that box. And if I come back to that store and they're still there, most times I end up picking them up. Over and over again, and will continue. I was introduced to comics not through Marvel DC superheroes, so they never entered my zone in an influential way. They always came in as like parts of things that I was also interested in. One of the things that I was absolutely obsessed with through my teenage years was ninjas. So I'm going to flash up on the screen. There was a magazine. I believe there was like some 30 issues that came out of it I think it's like 82 to 85 or something. It was called Ninja. And the cover was airbrushed. So every cover, they had an artist that did these airbrush covers. And then, of course, they were illustrated with cartoon comic book kinds of things. But it was all this, checking out the world of becoming or being a ninja. So when I was going to two comic book stores back at that time, my eyes were always just looking for, and black and white indies were throwing books out with ninjas because so was VHS. So that it was a very, very popular thing. Going forward, I do remember buying this comic book. I since had parted ways with it years and years and years ago. Saw this and decided this is a 1986 Solon publication. Do you remember Solon
Oh,
publication?
is that
It's Gary Brodsky.
right? I did. Is
You
that
did
pronounced Solson? Solson?
Solson. Is that what I said?
Yeah,
Solson.
I think that's pronounced Solson. Yeah,
What did I
Solson.
say?
Yeah, because they did
Salsa.
this. You said Solon. I
Oh,
think
sorry.
they did the how to draw comics book that
Yes,
I once
yes.
covered.
And
Yeah,
here's how to publish comics. So
yeah,
it's in the back.
interesting.
So, but as an artifact, I think it really holds up. Both Tom and Wendy made fun of the comic, but I said, hey, take a second, flip through it. And both of them had this like, whoa, really well illustrated. Rich Buckler, by the way.
Uh huh.
So we're talking a veteran or on the way of becoming a veteran in comics. Very well illustrated. And then, of course, Reagan's Raiders, another Soul Sun
Right.
comic, and also illustrated by Rich
Buckle.
Buckler. But like informative. And so I will openly admit in my teenage years, I was actively pursuing on my own the training of becoming a ninja. So these were all very, very effective for me. Did not master climbing walls with the tiger claws because my dad was yelling and screaming at me that I'd take the mortar out between the bricks. I used my younger brother as a punching dummy, but one day he had his own and he whacked me over the head, knocked me out with a large stick. Um, but I just had to show this off. As you know, when I say very odd or off-putting things about why I do and don't like or gravitate towards comics, certain comics, especially superheroes, I have no emotional connection to superheroes. But ninjas, martial arts, black and white, these are all the core values that I'm constantly tapping back to and getting excited about. But I also have to say, another secret project I'm working on in the shadows is a ninja comic. So I've been collecting the magazines. By the way, I'll flash up the ninja magazines. These magazines right now, you can't get any of them less than $30 a pop. And of course, during the early 80s on, I started taking airbrush lessons at a local um, art center, and got to be friends because the guy was like had graduated. I think it was Antonelli's, and was actively working on being an illustrator. So he would do all these classes, and I would take all of them. And one of the things he mentioned was morgue file. So, I had hundreds of martial arts magazines because I also bought Black Belt magazine. Um, National Geographic, my grandfather and I found from like 1962 to the present, 85 or whatever it was. Somebody was throwing them away, and I had them. So I started cutting up all my magazines and putting them in little manila folders and labeling them. So those magazines got completely trashed, and lost that morgue file years ago. But I would love to get a hold of all of those magazines again, to help my research in my ninja comic.
So
So,
question about the the ninja fandom. Because I was always a huge fan of Master Kung Fu. I was a kid during the '70s, right when the Kung Fu craze, all the movies came out, Bruce Lee, Chuck Norris, all that stuff. It just went on and on. I could see that. I know that Marvel had that. DC had Kung Fu Fighter. There was the magazines, Deadly Hands of Kung Fu, and I was always into that. I always love movies that have Kung Fu, like Big Trouble in Little China. But what's the difference between Kung Fu fandom and ninja fandom?
China and Japan, seriously,
Okay.
the whole thing that really. So I was introduced to ninja because I watched Black Belt theater, and I watched all the Chinese Run Shaw shows, and one of them was called oh gosh, it had ninja in it. Anyways, there was uh, um, two rival schools. The one rival school, I flashed the name of the movie. So there's two schools. One school hires a samurai to basically slaughter the other school. And of course, there's a couple students that are survived, but of course they haven't finished their training, so they go off and finish their training, and then they come back and they start kicking the other school's ass, kind of one by one, and then vouch to avenge their school and their master, and head out to do this. And the samurai brings in from Japan uh, five or six clans of multicolored. They all had a color coding ninja group. So then the martial artists had to move through these settings, and it was the fire ninjas, the water ninjas, the earth ninjas, and everything to go through. Well, my mind like blew open. It was like, so what's going on? What's going on? I got, and went from there. That led me to becoming like a Japanophile, like somebody who just became ultimately obsessed with the Japanese culture, samurais, ninja, right down to, I was going to the library like every week, just trying to find books to read more and more about it. And it led me actually to spend some time in Japan, in college. But I think the other part of it too, and this is like subjective, which the Japanese, when it came to their martial arts movies, I think predominantly in the like 70s, let's say, and 80s, um, they had a kind of cultural, well, and I don't know if I should say it this way because it seems a little biased, because I was very obsessed with the Chinese Hong Kong Run Run Shaw um, kung fu movies, but I never really completely attached myself to them. There was something about the cultural identity of like Japan, and their whole like, what do you call it, the feudal system and the retainer. How samurais would kill themselves if they're oh, it's just from there. But I do really, to answer the question, say it has more to do with the cultural divide between the cultures and just the way the material is coming out, because there was never any well,
You
yeah,
got.
I'm just gonna leave it at
I
that.
mean,
I'm just gonna leave it at that.
I remember being really impressed with what was it, Ninja Assassin, a movie called Ninja Assassin. I thought it was a really good example of the genre, and it wasn't a kung fu movie. It was a ninja movie per se.
Yeah,
Also,
yeah,
you also have Ninja Samurai, which is
yep,
pretty good, animation. Very very kind of like, if you like Aeon Flux, maybe very like flowing, translation of you know samurai culture or whatever into animation. So love
yeah,
that one too. But
yeah. It there was I just think that there was some weird connection. I think the Japanese Ninja Samurai thing made in establishing itself in the 80s than it did with the Chinese Hong Kong Run Run Shaw Kung Fu. I just, I mean, it's kind of like this. It's like, though, you know, uh, Chuck Norris, he was in Enter the Dragon. Bruce Lee obviously is the dominant, like everybody when they come across those films, his films, filmography, you are immediately held to um,
the highest
in
standard.
amazement. Yeah, yeah, higher standard. And those were very well made movies because he controlled a lot of the creative aspects to it, and the choreography was obviously one of them.
Yeah.
But like, one of the big guys in the 80s, especially going in the late 80s, was a Japanese actor named Sho Kosogi, and he did all these ninja movies. Had Enter the Ninja and Dragon Ninja, all these
Uh
types of
huh.
things, and he did become like an icon. He entered the magazines, different types of things that, once you kind of get hooked into something, an industry tries to keep you inside there and everything. But Chuck Norris, Enter the Octagon. I remember seeing that around the same time I saw this thing, and at the end he has to go through a maze to get to the big ninja, assassin guy, and so here he's making his way through this whole culture thing.
You you
I've talked
also got
about.
you also
I,
got Quentin. I said you also got. I mean, there's been a lot of great movies. Quentin Tarantino gets
Well, I'm
into it.
talking 80s though. I'm talking about what like infiltrates our culture, and then how it kind of established, because we asked this of our interviewers, interviewees, when we're doing the comic exchanges, like, what was going on when you were 12 years old? How did you get introduced to comics? This is a very important thing, I think, for artists in general. But yeah, the other thing too is that I think there were more ninja assets in movies than kung fu assets. Like, it's not really until like Jet Li becomes
Yeah.
an asset in, and so you have a lot of like, ooh, let's go hire some ninjas. And Black Moon, by the way, I love this comic series, because this becomes the quintessential archetype for me, where there's like a white guy who ends up becoming trained as a ninja, American ninja.
Right.
And then, is covert. It has a James Bond kind of feel. You know what I mean? Like there's all this kind of really cool. James Bond, was it Never Die Twice? Never Live
No,
Twice? I can't.
you only
He
live.
had, you
Yeah,
only live once or
you only
twice.
live twice.
So there's a whole ninja thing, Japanese element and stuff. So it was like it was all coming in on me, and yeah, yeah. So I think this kind of stuff is great too, just for references.
Solson,
It's one of
yeah,
the reasons I'm getting.
Solson Publications are your how-to guides for a lot of different
Yeah,
things.
yeah,
And
yeah.
it really got popular. If you go into stores like Five Below, you see all these how to make manga. I couldn't tell you how many how to make
Yes,
manga books there are,
yes,
and
yes.
sometimes it comes with like a little set of pens or pencils,
Yep,
and
yep, yep.
it's just amazing how popular they are, and that how it keeps going on. But this was way back when. When was that put out again? You said 80, in the 80s.
86,
86.
86.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because How to Draw Comics, I think, was in the 70s. Maybe it had John Byrne and John Buscema art that they got permission for. So I guess
Yeah, yeah.
they were out there for a while by then.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it gets it on the shelf, and like I was a mark for a ninja, so it just got in my stack, and I bought it. I also remember buying this. This is that same kind of like movie in a comic,
Code
Code
name
Name
Ninja. Right.
Ninja. That shit's, and that's what I'm. Like I said, I'm like I have all these folders that I collect materials and buying actual physical material, where I'm kind of like, oh man, it would be really cool to do a ninja, 80s style-ish story, where the guy is a ninja, but he can't tell anybody because you can't when you're a ninja, so on and so forth. So
Well, we've seen lots of comics, and whenever it's a female ninja, I always buy. But you have Ninjak and Ninja Warriors and all of these different ones.
yeah,
So
I think it's a tough sell nowadays because there's an exhaustion people I think have culturally experienced when it comes to ninja character, ninja storyline, ninja objectives, all the kind of cliches. So this kind of thing that I'm working on right now is the kind of like a storyline where there's he's a provocateur in a city situation in the 80s where there's all this turmoil, and you don't know if he's actually helping relieve the pressure by using his skills or he's actually being paid to instigate. So I'm trying to create like a duality of the character themselves itself. In like a LA, Miami Beach kind of like,
okay,
cocaine fueled. That's kind of the notes I have right now. And it's very, very inspired by Amwat, the one man army comic by Benjamin Mara. So,
okay.
that's the kind of coming from there. But that's what I got, Jake.
Yeah, well, there's plenty of ninjas to go around. I used to love that they were always the bad guys in Shang-Chi. There was always like some ninjas after him, and um, I guess it could continue on. I didn't realize the whole Chinese Japanese rivalry thing, but that's a part of it. Yeah, so thanks for watching, everybody. You can tune in next time. We're going to be doing some more comics and influence. This is episode 50, so that's a milestone for us.
Woohoo!
And check out our Substack. So if you go on to doommags .substack.com, you can see we started releasing installments if you'd like to read a little bit. And you can get them delivered straight to your email box. And they come with a couple little sketches, and sometimes they're inked, sometimes they're just pencil. And we're developing all of these sci-fi storylines. We have the Secret Chronicles of the Duke, which is out now. We spoke about Elavena already. We have the Company Man. We have a lot of the alluding to the Dehuberton family and how society gets destroyed and how things get so bad, the future gets grim. White knuckle action that you can check out if you want to subscribe that way. If not, just hang tight. It'll only be a matter of time before we put out Turbo Pit Fighter the comic issue number 1, and you can also check out our making of episodes every Sunday. We go live at 10, and we have tons and tons of episodes already archived online, which you can also check into if you're ever bored. So that's it, Kurt. We'll see you next time.
See you next Sunday, Jake.
All right. Peace, my brother.